Hey there, I'm back. Um, as I kept saying all week, we had an election, and elections has consequences, for the better and for the worse. And sometimes allies can always end up feuding. And so we had, would okay. I would be disingenuous to say that Biden won 100% fair and square. I would be disingenuous to say that Trump's campaign were doing everything on the level too. It's a well-known secret that political campaigns do underhanded shit against each other on all sides. I know some people hate it when they say, "Oh, all sides," but honestly, when it comes to the political mess that we're in, and this country is a hot political mess. Um, you can always find shit going on both sides. And anybody who acts like one side has all the virtue and the other side is the epitome of all that is evil is just a silly partisan hack and should be poked fun at for doing that and thinking along those lines. Dan Crenshaw, Republican of Texas, and Marjorie Taylor, Republican of Georgia, are not particularly fun and lovey-dovey toward each other this week. Now, I'm gonna let you know that I've been keeping my eye on that race in Georgia. Uh, this lunatic of a woman named Marjorie Taylor Greene, who ran for Congress, and everybody knew she was going to get elected this past Tuesday. She had a Democratic challenger who stepped down, so she basically was unopposed, and she's an absolute reprehensible and just a vile human being in every way you can imagine. Imagine Caitlin Bennett, the gun girl on YouTube, and former Congressman Michelle Bachmann, and all that is nutty about her. If they were combined as one person, as a basically a fairly attractive middle-aged woman, that would be Marjorie Taylor Greene. Um, eh, but possesses everything that's awful about Caitlin Bennett and everything that's awful about Michelle Bachmann. Um, Probably worse than the two. Um, she got elected, and Congressman Dan Crenshaw was he's the in the second district of Texas, and I got my criticism of him too. And under normal circumstances, I'll be very critical of him. I still particularly view them both in a very negative way, but one of them show that they can be a better person. Dan Crenshaw is, as I said, he's a congressman from Texas in the second congressional district. He got elected in 2018. He was a U.S. Naval Lieutenant Commander. The unit of the Navy was the U.S. Naval SEAL, and he's a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. He lost his right eye due to trying to dismantle an explosives, and he received a Purple Heart and Bronze Star. Regardless of my personal opinion of him serving in these wars in the Middle East, I will say thank you for the service for this country, even though it's for a war that I disagree with. People put their lives on the line. And I'm more angry at the neocons with the suit and tie from both parties that have to put people like Dan Crenshaw or anybody else into these Middle East conflicts. And I want them all to come home safely. Well, and this is my spiel to say, hey, Let's get the fuck out of Iraq. Let's get the fuck out of Afghanistan, and let's mind our own fucking business. So but let me get back to Dan Crenshaw. He wears an eye patch, and I'm sorry that he's lost his right eye, and I understand he has vision problems with his left eye too, but obviously he didn't lose. His left eye is still functional. But anyway, um, years ago, he would have been what you would have called a proto never Trumper for what I read about him. He did vote for Trump and he became pretty much a supporter of Trump, but for what I understand, Trump was not his first choice early on. But once Trump was sworn in, he became a staunch, loyal Trump supporter for the most part. Um, as far as his social views, I think he's probably in the context of the modern day Republican. He might be as middle of the road as they come. He seems to be pretty establishment as far as his voting record on what I will call Republican line politics. His foreign policy, however, is that that seemingly remind me of the worst of the Bush Cheney years. He seems to be the sort of person that would love to go into war at every chance. So, yeah, his voting record would be, I mean, he will pretty much be a yes man for anything that serves the neoconservative foreign policy cause. I'm not going to like him. And a good example of that is even when Trump made an attempt to withdraw troops from Syria, he he pretty much Samalan. I am not being a piece of shit by mispronouncing the name. I don't know how the fuck you pronounce the name. The Iranian general in Baghdad that was murdered by an American rocket. He was a staunch supporter of such action. So, overall, my opinion of Congressman Crenshaw is going to be pretty negative. Uh, I don't think he may be the worst person there is in the world, but he's. I certainly don't. I'll be in great doubt that I will ever vote for someone like him if I lived in Texas in the second congressional district or anybody that's like him anywhere in the country. So I mean, my opinion of him is somewhat negative. Well, down in Georgia, in the 14th congressional district, a woman by the name of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I would like to nickname her. As I said she's like a cross between Caitlin Bennett and Michelle Bachmann. But I have a nickname for her. I call her QAnon Karen. And you'll see why in a moment. She's a businesswoman from Taylor Commercial, which is a construction company, I believe, located in Atlanta. Anybody from Georgia that's not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene, be sure the people around, including the Clintons, including the Obamas and Joe Biden and all the Democratic leadership in this country, are all a bunch of Satan worshiping pedophiles that kidnap children, torture them, and have these these really horrendous um, satanic um, orgies and just something to be dismissed. Pedophilia is an evil, make no mistake about it. But I do not think that Democrats in the leadership or Republicans in the leadership or the average person in general, most people across the political spectrum will look at pedophilia and just be repulsed by it. But but people like Marjorie Taylor Greene has to go on with these conspiracy theories like QAnon. Anybody who believes in QAnon needs to be dismissed right away. George Soros, she called George Soros a Nazi. George Soros, who was born into an Orthodox Jewish family. And I know what he referred, I know where the Nazi connection is. He was born into an Orthodox Jewish family in Hungary, and during the Nazi occupation of places like Hungary, the government set up what was called a Jewish council, and they use a very young person like George Soros to find Jewish people, to kidnap them, put them in the camps, and all that. The kid was young. He had this done against his will, and after the war was over, he spent the rest of his life with a lot of guilt for what he did, and he has served all kind of humanitarian causes. Now, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene may not like the left wing causes that he supports, and there are some things about George Soros, as a leftist, that I find unsettling and do not agree with. But George Soros is not a Nazi. I mean, to say that George Soros is a Nazi, it's like saying that John Ratzinger, who we know today as the former Pope, Pope Benedict XVI, people have said that he was a Nazi because he served in Hitler's youth in the 1930s. Now, to be in the Hitler's youth in the 1930s, you were required by the state to join that, even if you disagree with what Hitler was doing. And John Ratzinger was recruited into Hitler's youth, not because he loved the Nazis, because the state forced him to. And during World War II, he was a corporal, and he deserted the fucking German army. So, again, just like George Soros is not a Nazi, neither was John Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict XVI. So, I mean, if you're going to say George Soros is a Nazi, you might as well say Pope Benedict XVI is a Nazi. Neither of them are Nazis. She basically referred to Rashida Tlaib as, basically as a Muslim implant for a Muslim invasion of the United States. Do you know how asinine that is? Do you know how fucking asinine that is? If there is a quote unquote Muslim attempts to take over the United States, it's people like uh, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was probably fingering her snatch, when George W. Bush was invading Iraq. She was probably shoving a dildo up her twat while George W. Bush was invading Iraq. We have a problem with the Muslim world today because of the actions of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, of their shitty handling of 9/11, invading a country that did not invade us. And people like her is going to sit there and lecture Americans about refugees coming in. You don't want fucking refugees from the Middle East coming in. Stop the droning in the Middle East. But I'm sure she does not want to do that. I'm sure watching drones, she just wants to sit there and fondle herself watching that. Fuck you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Fuck you. And she has indirectly threatened the squad, using them in commercials and target practice. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley. She's attacking the squad. That doesn't set well with me. And I don't mean she disagrees with them on ideology, but that she really has a disagreement, like if she could, she would eliminate them. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the enemy of the people. She's a trunk sycophant. And he basically cried foul over the elections recently, this past Tuesday. And on a tweet battle, I mean, Congressman Crenshaw basically accept the defeat of Donald Trump, and basically insinuated that we have to go on, and the way he was stating it, that there will be another election. It was kind of a magnanimous way of let life go on. And he talks about irregularities and everything. And he was, one few times I'm going to defend him. He was fair in doing so. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene criticized him, and she went on with her conspiracy theories and being the nutcase that she is. And I love the fact that Congressman Dan Crenshaw tweeted back at her, "Start acting like a member of Congress." And there you have it. When I can make when I can have empathy for Dan Crenshaw, you know the person that's being involved with the person who's being antagonistic toward Dan Crenshaw, you know that person is just as batty as hell. So good for Congressman Dan Crenshaw. One of the few times you're going to hear me faintly say something that will be close to a praise or what have you. But good for you, Dan Crenshaw. She needs to be put in her place. And I hope that the people in Georgia get rid of her at the ballot box in 2 years. I'll say it again, and you didn't hear me stutter. This is to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Fuck you, bitch. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you were triggered, well, tough. Comment anyway. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you today. If you have a platform, you got something to say, utilize it. I do. And if you don't, develop one, utilize it. Because we're all the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to share the content on this channel. And most importantly, please subscribe. And until next time, peace and Bernie Sanders for president, year 2024.